Hey, yeah, this is Chris from Rekkid Talk. I'm doing a ranking the albums. This one might get me in trouble. I'm doing Iron Maiden, Maiden Nation. I might have a couple of takes that you're not going to like. I know I'm not a metal guy, so be nice. I kind of feel like Henry Rollins. If there was a spoken word Henry Rollins did about his experience when he was opening for Iron Maiden at a festival, I'll talk about it. But basically, I'm ranking all the studio albums of Iron Maiden, starting with Iron Maiden, um, the debut in 1980, through the just released Iron Maiden Senjutsu from 2021, and all the albums, all the studio albums in between, except the two made by Blaze Bayley. Why not those? Well, here's the story. When I was a teenager, I'd gotten into Iron Maiden when I was like in high school. This was like the prime, early to mid 80s. And then I kind of fell away from metal in general and Iron Maiden and haven't really listened to them a lot recently. I have some friends at work that are big Maiden fans. They took me to the Maiden concert in 2019. Um, and recently, I had an opportunity a few months ago to basically buy an instant Maiden collection on CD. So I got everything on CD except the two Blaze Bayley albums. I didn't go out and buy those separately. I bought the Senjutsu separately from that. And From what I've heard from Maiden fans, they're not really into the Blaze Bayley stuff anyway. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to kind of go into this. I'm sort of biased towards the classic era of Maiden, the first five albums, particularly um, after the first two with Paul Diano, the first three albums that they did with Bruce Dickinson, which is probably Maiden's best known material. So we're going to go from 15 to 1. So let's pull out my number 15. All right. Here's my number 15, Fear of the Dark from 1992. Here's my notes on it. Just fucking dreadful. Adrian Smith already gone. Bruce Dickinson has one foot out the door. I don't want to ever listen to this again. If the Blaze albums are worse, they must truly be wretched. All right. Let's move on. My number 14, Dance of Death. What a terrible album cover. And I found this album to be very dull, too many ponderous wannabe epics. I know a lot of people, and I'll say this a few more times, not every single song that Steve Harris ever wrote that's over 10 minutes long is great. Pathetic cover art. Actually, then I looked and there's actually no songs on this album that are more than 8 minutes long. They seemed longer. The closer is a song called Journeyman, which is their only all acoustic song, and it kind of blows. Okay. And I know those two are usually ranked towards the bottom of these Baden lists. The next one is going to be the one that's a really hot take. I think I'm going to make some enemies in the Maiden community with this. My number 13, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son from 1988. I think this album is just very overrated. I can't get into it all. I tried. I heard it back in the day. It's kind of prog metal black. This is really when I started ignoring them. I know a lot of you guys really love this album, but I had for a while. I had like on iTunes a downloaded Iron Maiden comp, and Can I Play with Madness and The Evil That Men Do tended to be the songs on the comp that I would skip. So I'm sorry, I don't like Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. It's my number 13. My number 12 is going to be from 2015, The Book of Souls. First song got off to a sluggish start. Second song is a little bit more standard metal sounding. The Red and the Black, probably my favorite song on this. It's an okay Harris Galloper. It is too long. The whoa oh oh is silly. There's the acoustic start to this title track, The Book of Souls. The last track on CD one's okay. did this really need 2 CDs? It's not really that great. So that's my number 12, The Book of Souls. I know I sound critical so far. We're getting closer and closer to the stuff I really dig because I do like a lot of their catalog. My number 11, again, a lot of you guys aren't going to like this. Somewhere in Time from 1986. So this is kind of where I draw the line. Their classic run is over. This is serviceable. I mean, I'll listen to it again, but I think there are a lot more better albums, ones that come. Wasted Years and Loneliness of the Long Distance Runner, those aren't bad songs. Sea of Madness is pretty meh. Heaven Can Wait sucks. Alexander Can Wait is, again, I think there's a lot of Iron Maiden songs that would be a lot better if they were 3 or 4 minutes shorter than they are. It's sort of the beginning of the trend of the epic wannabes written by Steve. I mean, he had some real winners with some long songs early on. I think he went to that well a little bit too often. My number 10 is going to be 1990's No Prayer for the Dying. And so Adrian Smith had left the band. This was the last one. Is that true? Oh, let me double check. Yes, Adrian Smith had left the band, so this is Yannick Years is on this. Obviously, Bruce is still around. This album, I think, gets some of their weaker reviews. I actually prefer it a bit to Seventh Son and Somewhere in Time, which I think is not the usual take. I kind of dig Tail Gunner and No Prayer for the Dying. Run Silent, Run Deep. This does lose a couple spots for some really stupid song titles. Public Enema #1, which is a decent song, but a terrible title. And Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. The Scorpions think your song titles are tacky. Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter that's a crap song. What's my number 9? My number 9 is A Matter of Life and Death from 2006. And so this is one of these records that the first half of the record I didn't like very much. And if the second half of the record had been like the first half of the record, it would have been way down on my list. The second half of this record is a lot better than the first half. And so this time the epics are a bit better. They're definitely better than like the Dance of Death ones. Reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg, For the Greater Good of God. Those are some pretty cool songs. And bring this up a few spots on my list. My number 8, this is going to be my median Maiden. The median of my list is going to be the new one, Senjutsu. From 2021. 2 CD set. Eddie's looking all Japanese. And so the first CD is pretty good. There are only 4 songs on the second CD. The last 3 songs are all long, 10-minute plus epics. The first of those, Death of the Celts, is pretty good. Parchment I found really, really boring. Hell on Earth is sort of appropriately titled. I think this would have been a killer 50-minute CD rather than an 80-minute double CD. The vinyl version's on 3 discs. I think you could easily get that down to 2 and actually have a better record. But as I said, this is my median Maiden. If I threw the 2 Blaze records in, would I really find one Blaze record better and one Blaze record worse? From what I've heard, I'd probably find both of them worse. All right, now we're starting to get into some really good stuff here. So here's my number 7, and this is going to tell you that I did find some stuff from later in their catalog to knock out the first 5. Here's Iron Maiden's second album, Killers, from 1981. So this is the second and final one featuring Paul Di'Anno. And so I have it as my number 7. Always, for me, rating sort of the lowest of the first 5 albums. Not really sure about the idea of having Ides of March, a short instrumental opener. I would have just gone ahead and led off with Wrathchild. Generally, I don't think the songs on there are as strong as the debut. Adrian Smith with Dave Murray is definitely an upgrade from the guy on the first album, Dennis Stratton. Paul Di'Anno was clearly not going to be the guy in Steve Harris's what he envisioned of the band. Genghis Khan, it's sort of like a quick epic, so they'd make them longer. So my number 6 record is going to be, and I think I rate this one higher than people generally do when they make these sorts of lists. My number 6 is going to be 2010's The Final Frontier. I really like the first track, Satellite 15, The Final Frontier. And the second song, El Dorado. Isle of Avalon is a pretty good longer song. I think it's about a 9-minute. A lot of the tracks on this album are co-written by Adrian Smith, and I've noticed over the years that when songs are co-written by Adrian Smith, they tend to be some of my favorites. El Dorado, you got some cool bass, but it's not like a Run to the Hill style gallop, but pretty good stuff here. My number 5 is going to be 2000's Brave New World. So 21st Century Maiden on the hype sticker here. Best value from the guy I bought it from. Oh, and I forgot to mention that like about half these CDs I bought from this person are like the Argentinian pressings. I don't know if those are special in the Maiden world or not. They didn't seem to be in terms of Discogs value. All right, let's talk about Brave New World. Welcome back, Bruce. Welcome back, Adrian. We got galloping bass. We got melodic, catchy songs. This is what I want from my Maiden. Wicker Man, okay, back to having killer fucking album openers. Galloping bass, catchy choruses. Double guitar attack on the Mercenary and the Fallen Angel. A very strong closer with the thin line between love and hate. It turns out that New Music Express in Britain hated it, compared them unfavorably to Korn and Slipknot. But this is like my favorite of the sort of the non-classic 80s Maiden. All right, so what's going to be my number 4? My number 4 is going to be the debut album, Iron Maiden. So this came out in 1980. What did I have in my notes about this? So, Love Prowler, Love Phantom of the Opera, Iron Maiden, Charlotte the Harlot. It is a bit punky sounding because you got Di'Anno, that early NWOBHM sort of sound going. Don't tell Steve Harris that it sounds punky. That'll make him mad. But Iron Maiden debut album. And if you're a Maiden fan, you've kind of figured out that my top 3 are sort of the standard top 3. My ordering, my number 3 is going to be Peace of Mind from 1983. And basically, I found the first half of this to probably be the best side of a Maiden album ever, where Eagles Dare, Revelations, Flight of Icarus, Die With Your Boots On, The Trooper. I mean, the second half of this album was as good as that. This would be my number 1. There's a couple of duds on the second side. Quest for Fire. What a turd. I remember probably the first time I heard this album, I was probably like 14, 15 years old. I thought Quest for Fire was a stupid song then, and I still think it's a stupid song. And I think, especially based upon the caliber of the 2 albums I haven't mentioned yet, having Quest for Fire on this record is enough to knock it down to my number 3. My number 2, I almost made it my number 1. This might benefit from what I heard somebody describe as neurological nostalgia, which is basically rating the first thing you ever hear by a band that you end up really liking highly. And so this is actually the first Iron Maiden tape I ever bought, Iron Maiden Power Slave. I liked it so much I quickly went out and got Peace of Mind and the albums. That's my number 1 that I'll talk about in a minute. But Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. Okay, I've been harping on not liking the overly long epics, but I like Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. I'm sure every high school English teacher in the country must hate that song because I'm sure they always end up with some kid in their class. Hey, Mrs. Jacobson, did you know that Iron Maiden made a song about that poem? Uh, Aces High, great song. Flash of the Blade, Power Slave, the title track. 2 Minutes to Midnight, I think it's overrated. Find some of the lyrics kind of cringy. And I was debating putting Power Slave #1, but no, I went with Number of the Beast as my #1 Iron Maiden album. No duds on this. Invaders, Children of the Damned, The Prisoner, 22 Acacia Avenue, The Number of the Beast, Run to the Hills, Gangland, Hallowed Be Thy Name. Maybe a cliche choice, but that's my choice for my favorite Iron Maiden song ever. Closing out the album. And if you're only going to own one Iron Maiden album, I also got this Live After Death. This has basically most of the classic material from a lot of the hits from those first 5 albums over 2 discs. But again, I'll do a quick recap from number 15 to number 1. Number 15, Fear of the Dark. Number 14, Dance of Death. Number 13, yes, number 13, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Number 12, The Book of Souls. Number 11, Somewhere in Time. Number 10, No Prayer for the Dying. Number 9, A Matter of Life and Death. Number 8, the new one, Senjutsu. Number 7, Killers. Number 6, The Final Frontier. Number 5, Brave New World. Number 4, debut Iron Maiden. Number 3, Peace of Mind. Number 2, Power Slave. And my favorite again was Number of the Beast. So if you're a Maiden fan, let me know what you thought about that. I think the Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, I don't think you guys are going to be into me raking it so low, but hey, what can I say? But like Final Frontier and Brave New World, I thought those were pretty competitive with pretty much everything except I think the top 3, Peace of Mind, Power Slave, Number of the Beast, are pretty untouchable. But they've had some stuff come out. Senjutsu's not bad. I don't think they're like a band that hasn't come out with anything good in 35 years. Although that 1980 through 1984 span is just like incredible.